Hey there, thanks for joining me. This is Josh from Redneck Homestead channel. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about some big decisions that we've been making here. We bought this house in 2011, December of 2011, and I got to tell you, this place was a disaster. It was foreclosed upon by the bank. The bank owned it. There were burst pipes all throughout. There was no heating system. Actually, there were two heating systems, and they were both completely failed. There were 5 electrical meters. The house was split into 4 units. It was just a roughshod job. I mean, all of the antique woodwork, the wood floors were painted with disgusting baby blue and sky blue latex paint. It was disgusting. The place was an absolute disaster. The great room had carpet that was so badly stained and soiled by pets and years of abuse, and the house just looked like like nobody would ever possibly want to live here or move in here. In fact, when I first made the decision to buy it, Julie said, "I will never live in that house ever, period." And at the time, we were in the process of purchasing another house on the other side of town. I just saw something in this house that I loved, and I just saw potential for it, and I wanted to take on the project. I let the house sit for, it must have been over a year, and I mean, I probably went and walked through the house twice in that year when it was sitting. I mean, I was busy doing my thing with work and what have you, and I just kind of got the bug finally to remodel it. So I put one of my employees on the project for an entire winter, and he made unbelievable strides and got a lot done. I worked on it a lot at night and over the weekends, and we finally got it to a place where we could move in. So we moved in, when was that? 2013, beginning of 2013. We've been here like 2 years, actually living here and working on it while we're living here and realizing what we like about the house and what we don't like about the house. And Julie will tell you that I'll start a project and I'll get it 90% of the way done, but it just doesn't get done. And she likes to joke about that and give me a hard time about that, and she's right. But finally, we came to the conclusion. This has been a journey so far, and this journey has culminated with the reality that we want to simplify our lives. And this is something that I've been interested in doing for many years now, but it's just starting to come into focus. And, you've seen some of the videos of the off-grid cabin that we have been working on up north, and that whole project, that whole property, and that's coming along great, and that's a work in progress, and it will be for years and years as we come up with new ideas and develop new needs and what have you. And that's an entirely separate operation that is underway. But there's something else to be said for where you live all the time. And this is the town that I grew up in. I've lived here my whole life, with the exception of the few years that I moved away, and I moved out to the West Coast, and I did a couple of years in college, and one in upstate New York, and one on the seacoast of New Hampshire, and that's a separate story altogether. But it's great to come back home. My family's here, my friends are here, my business is here. But the reality is, we're living in the same town, with the same neighbors, on the same small plot of land. It's a half an acre, and in this town, a half an acre is probably one of the larger pieces of property right in town that are in the piece of property that are in the entire city. And it's fenced in, and anyone that comes here says, "Wow, this place is really cool. What a great place to live." But the reality is it's not 50 acres. It's not 100 acres. It's not 200 acres. And it's not a place that I can realistically say I see myself being here in 30, 40, 50, God willing, years. And so that's where we're at. But unfortunately, in order to sell a house, it needs to be more finished than this house is. And at some point in the near future, I'll probably do a small, short video tour highlighting some of the cool features of this house. As I've mentioned in prior videos, this house is the oldest house in this city. It's a 1780s federal style or federal era cape, all timber framed, post and beam. This is just the most solid house in the area, and it's still standing strong after 235 years. And at one point, this house was on 1,000 acres. I mean, it was a wealthy landowner. Their family has a genealogy that's just unbelievable. There are still his descendants living in this town. They are judges and lawyers and what have you, and it's just a very deep-rooted family. And this landowner, his name was Jacob Jewett, I believe, he granted land grants upon his death, and I guess maybe even throughout the course of his life, to various entities, including the hospital, local hospital, and I believe to the local high school, and just all around, as far as the eye could see, it was his land. And bit by bit, it was given away. He divested himself of the land, or his estate divested itself of the land over the years, and I've made the comment that they built a city around this house. And it's really unfortunate. When I say city, this is a small New England city. It's not a city. It's not a New York or Boston. This is a small little city, quote unquote, of 15,000 people. Kind of getting off on a tangent here, so forgive me. But it's at this point that we've made kind of the decision, the final decision, to get this house tuned up, trimmed up, remodeled to the place where we can feasibly and viably sell it. Over the late fall, I painted the exterior of the house. It looks unbelievable. We put in a new main entry door. We've got a few more doors to put in. There's a lot of remodeling that's been done. During the course of the initial remodeling phase, we stripped all of the god-awful paint that was put on these beautiful pumpkin pine floors. We restored the house to a single-family house with an in-law apartment above the shop, and did tons of electrical modifications and things of that nature. And now it's time to really spruce it up, the final 20%. And I've anyone who's seen the Off-Grid Cabin video series so far, they know that I subscribe to the 80% rule. Most of the work can be done, the 80% of the work can be done with significantly less effort than the last 20%. But at the same time, when you want to sell a house for a reasonable asking price, you really need to fill in that last 20%. The reason I am telling you all this is I just ripped the kitchen out. Kind of got to the point where I said, I was going to go to the cabin last Monday, and I said, it'd be great to go to the cabin, but that's a project that can wait maybe a week or 2 weeks or whatever. I need to make this kitchen impressive. I need to make this kitchen functional and impressive for the next prospective buyer. So I literally just walked the 40 feet into my shop, grabbed a whole handful of tools, and started ripping down walls, ripping sheetrock off, ripping wiring out, and we stripped the kitchen down to bare poles. We uncovered a lot of really interesting stuff. Not super interesting. Unfortunately, this isn't the first remodel that was done since 1780. So we stripped off the 2010s, the 1990s, the 1980s, the 1970s, and I think we're down to like the 1950s at this point. But I've got a lot of video that is going to be coming that is chronicling the remodel of the kitchen, and this is kind of not really homesteading subject matter so much, but I think it's important to share this stuff with you because this really, though we're kind of building, and we've lived a homesteading lifestyle for quite some time, I just haven't felt good about really settling down here for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the insufficient amount of land, the proximity of neighbors, the traffic count on the road, etc., etc., etc. I mean, whatever the case may be. And so this really is, I would say, would mark the true beginning of the journey. And years down the road, people that have followed what we're up to are going to see that the journey kind of began right here. Yes, of course, the off-grid project is an entire, it's an entirely separate universe of homesteading and self-sufficiency and liberty and individualism and family reliance and family bonding, etc., etc. But the homesteading starts right here. So thanks very much for tuning in and listening to me ramble for 11 minutes now. I try not to keep these videos any longer than 10 minutes, so appreciate your patience. If you have any comments, suggestions, maybe you've gone through this and had this internal struggle and finally made the decision to do this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you liked the nature or the idea of this video, I'd love to have you give us a thumbs up, because that helps me really understand the type of content you're looking for, and maybe you want to see more of these little, what I call library chats here. I'm in the room in the house called the library, and it's just kind of a den, I guess you might say. It's one of the parlors, and maybe you want to see more of these types of chat videos, or maybe you don't. So again, thumbs up. Now's your chance to press the button. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Love to have you join the project and follow the progress that we're chronicling into the future. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.